The Young and the Restless. Spoilers. Full Jill's secret will could reveal. Catherine Chancellor left everything to Billy's hidden twin brother. What if the greatest buried secret in Genoa City was not about Victor Newman, Jack Abbott, or even the public battles over Chancellor Industries? What if the most explosive truth was sitting quietly inside a sealed envelope that Jill Abbott never opened, hidden among Catherine Chancellor's private papers and waiting for the one moment powerful enough to tear apart everything Jill thought she knew about her family? The Young and the Restless has always thrived on legacy, identity, inheritance, and the painful consequences of secrets kept for too long. Few legacies are more complicated than Catherine Chancellor's. Catherine was never just a wealthy matriarch who signed a will and let history take care of itself. She was a woman who revised her plans whenever a new truth changed the emotional map of her life. She wrote letters, changed beneficiaries, guarded private knowledge, and shaped the future from beyond the grave more than once. That history creates the perfect foundation for a stunning what-if twist. What if Catherine's final will was not the one everyone believed in? What if there was one last sealed codicil, one final instruction, one hidden document that could reveal the true Chancellor heir was not Jill, not Billy, as everyone understood him, but Billy Abbott's secret twin brother? This theory does not claim that The Young and the Restless has already confirmed Billy has a hidden twin. Instead, it builds on one of daytime drama's oldest and most powerful storytelling traditions. Stolen babies, switched records, secret siblings, forged birth certificates, mysterious adoptions, and long-lost heirs have changed countless lives in soap history. In Genoa City, the impossible rarely stays impossible for long. A child believed to be dead can return. A family tree can be rewritten. A signature can be challenged. A letter can surface years too late and destroy decades of certainty. If any two families could plausibly hide a shocking birth secret for decades, it would be the Abbotts and the Chancellors. Their histories are filled with pride, power, control, and people who made painful decisions because they believed they were protecting someone. A secret twin brother for Billy would not merely be a random twist. It would strike at the heart of Jill's identity, Billy's place in the world, and the entire meaning of Catherine Chancellor's legacy. Catherine's estate has never felt like a simple legal matter. Her fortune was always tied to emotion, history, rivalry, and unfinished business. Catherine and Jill's relationship was one of the richest and most complicated relationships in Genoa City history. They were enemies, family, rivals, mirrors, and emotional survivors of a war that lasted for decades. Their connection was built on resentment, betrayal, reluctant affection, and a strange bond neither woman could fully escape. That is why any new will from Catherine would not simply be about money. It would be about power, punishment, forgiveness, and truth. Catherine knew Jill better than almost anyone. She knew Jill's hunger for recognition. She knew Jill's need to belong. She knew Jill's pride in the Chancellor name and her deep fear of being pushed out of a world she fought so hard to claim. If Catherine truly discovered a secret about Billy's birth, especially the existence of a twin separated from him at birth, she may have chosen silence, not out of cruelty, but because she understood how devastating the revelation would be. The most intriguing clue supporting this kind of theory is Catherine's history of posthumous surprises. More than once, secret instructions, letters, revised intentions, and unexpected estate decisions emerged after people believed the matter was settled. Catherine did not always reveal her full hand while she was alive. She could be strategic, emotional, and deeply private when she believed a truth needed to be handled carefully. That pattern makes the idea of another sealed document surprisingly believable within the world of the show. Imagine Jill going through old papers, perhaps after another fight with Billy over trust, Chancellor, or her past decisions involving Victor Newman. At first, the envelope looks like nothing more than another piece of legal clutter. But then she sees Catherine's handwriting, or a notation from an old attorney, or the unmistakable seal of a document that was never meant to be opened casually. The moment Jill realizes Catherine may have left one final instruction, the room itself changes. Suddenly, the past is not dead. It is breathing again. Inside that sealed codicil could be a handwritten letter from Catherine, written in the tone only she could command. Loving, sharp, controlled, and devastating. Catherine might explain that her final estate plan could not be executed until the identity of a certain individual was legally verified. She might not name him outright, either because she never had the full name, because she feared the document could fall into the wrong hands, or because she wanted blood, records, and truth to determine the outcome, rather than emotion. She might leave clues instead. A date, a hospital, a doctor's name, a private investigator's report, a reference to a child born the same night as Billy Abbott, and a warning that the truth would shake Jill to her core. That would be classic Catherine. She would not simply hand everyone the answer. She would force them to confront the past, earn the truth, and decide what kind of people they were once the secret became undeniable. The emotional devastation for Jill would be enormous. Jill has spent years fighting for what she believed was rightfully connected to her family, to Billy, and to the Chancellor legacy. She has defended her choices, made ruthless decisions, and carried deep wounds from her complicated bond with Catherine. But what if Jill had unknowingly protected an inheritance Catherine intended for someone else? What if every argument she had with Billy about Chancellor, legacy, power, and loyalty was missing the most important fact of all, that Billy was not the only son born that day? Jill would not merely feel shocked. She would feel violated by history. She would wonder who knew. She would wonder how Catherine found out. She would wonder whether Catherine kept the secret to protect her or to punish her. Most painfully, she would have to ask whether she, as Billy's mother, somehow failed to see a truth about her own child's beginning. Billy's reaction would be just as complicated. At first, he might reject the entire idea. A secret twin brother sounds too outrageous, too convenient, too destructive. Billy is already a man with deep trust issues, especially where Jill is concerned. His resentment over Jill selling Chancellor Industries to Victor Newman still burns because, for Billy, it represented more than a business decision. It represented a betrayal of legacy and family identity. If Jill now comes to him with a sealed document suggesting he may have a twin brother and that Catherine may have left everything to this unknown man, Billy may assume there is another angle. He may believe Jill is hiding something, manipulating him, or using the revelation to control the next Chancellor battle. But once evidence begins to surface, denial would become harder. A forged birth certificate, a sealed hospital record, an old adoption file, a name connected to the same maternity ward where Billy was born. Each clue would make the impossible feel more real, and Billy would be forced to confront the question no one could answer for him. If he has a twin, what does that make him? The arrival of the mysterious man would be the turning point. Imagine a stranger walking into Genoa City with a face that resembles Billy's so strongly that people stop mid-sentence. He may not be identical in every way. Time, life experience, grooming, pain, and personality could make them different enough to avoid feeling like a mirror trick. But the resemblance would be undeniable. The same eyes, the same expressions, the same quick flashes of temper or humor, the same uneasy charm that makes people want to trust him and doubt him at the same time. He could arrive carrying adoption records from decades ago, records that were never meant to be found. He might have a birth certificate with suspicious corrections, hospital forms with missing pages, and paperwork tied to a doctor or administrator who had long ago vanished, died, or been paid to stay silent. Even more disturbing, he could possess details only Catherine Chancellor would have known. Private phrases from her letter, references to conversations no outsider could invent, or instructions that match the sealed codicil in Jill's possession. That is where the story becomes bigger than a simple inheritance claim. If the mystery man has proof, Jill cannot dismiss him as an opportunist. If he has too much information, Billy cannot laugh him off as a fraud. If Catherine's document points toward him, the entire Chancellor estate becomes unstable again. Lawyers would descend. Michael Baldwin could be pulled into the case. Christine Romalotti might face pressure if forged records, illegal adoption arrangements, or old hospital crimes come to light. Victor Newman would surely be watching from the shadows because anything involving Chancellor Power, Jill's vulnerability, and Billy's emotional instability would interest him. Jack Abbott would be drawn in because Billy is family, and the possibility that an Abbott son was separated from his twin at birth would shake the Abbott side as deeply as the Chancellor side. What began as a sealed envelope in Jill's hands could quickly become a citywide storm. The key question would be, why Catherine knew and Jill did not? Catherine always had resources Jill did not fully understand. She hired private investigators, collected information quietly, and often knew more than she revealed. It is easy to imagine Catherine discovering the truth years after the fact through an investigator looking into another matter. Perhaps she was researching an old adoption, a hospital scandal, or a financial irregularity connected to someone who once worked near Jill's delivery. Perhaps she found a nurse's confession, a doctor's ledger, or evidence that one baby was taken from the nursery and placed through a private adoption to protect a powerful family. Maybe the child was believed to be stillborn, and Jill was never told the truth. Maybe a hospital cover-up allowed someone to erase the second baby from official records. Maybe Catherine, horrified by what she found, tried to locate the child quietly, but could not confirm his identity before her death. That would explain the sealed document. Catherine may have known enough to suspect the truth, but not enough to reveal it publicly without risking the wrong man claiming the fortune. There is also the possibility that Catherine kept the secret because she feared what Jill would do with it. Catherine loved Jill in her own difficult way, but she also knew Jill could be impulsive, defensive, and destructive when threatened. If Catherine had told Jill that Billy had a twin who might have a claim on the Chancellor fortune, Jill might have panicked, attacked the evidence, or tried to bury the matter before understanding it. Catherine may have believed the truth needed legal protection before emotional chaos consumed it. By sealing the codicil, she could create a delayed mechanism. The truth would surface only when certain conditions were met, or when a related file was reopened. In that sense, Catherine would still be controlling the board from beyond the grave, forcing everyone to face reality on her terms. For Jill, the most painful part would not be the money. It would be the maternal wound. If Billy has a twin, then Jill lost a child she never knew existed. That changes the entire emotional meaning of the story. Jill would not simply be fighting a stranger over Catherine's assets. She would be staring at a man who might be her son. The man who threatens Billy's inheritance could also be Billy's brother. The claimant Jill wants to reject could be the child stolen from her life. That contradiction would tear her apart. Jill might try to stay hard and suspicious, but the resemblance would haunt her. She might watch the stranger laugh, gesture, or react in a way that reminds her of Billy, and for 1 second the legal battle would vanish. All she would see is the possibility of a baby she never held, a childhood she never witnessed, birthdays she never celebrated, and a lifetime stolen by someone else's decision. Billy would not handle that easily either. Billy has always struggled with identity, self-worth, and the feeling that people either underestimate him or try to manage him. A twin brother would be more than a sibling. He would be a living alternate version of Billy's life. What if this man grew up poor, abandoned, or emotionally damaged? Billy might feel guilt for having the life his brother lost. What if the man grew up stable and successful, without the chaos that shaped Billy? Billy might feel judged by comparison. What if the man is charming, but dangerous, using the truth to seize Chancellor power? Billy might feel protective of Jill and furious at the intrusion. What if the man is sincere and just wants answers? Billy might be forced to lower his defenses and face a connection he never asked for but cannot deny. A secret twin storyline would give Billy one of the strongest emotional arcs possible because it would challenge every part of his identity: son, Abbott, Chancellor, heir, brother, and man. The mystery man himself could be written in several fascinating ways. He might be an innocent man who discovered late in life that his adoption records were false and came to Genoa City seeking identity, not money. That would make him sympathetic and make Jill's suspicion feel tragic. He might be a morally gray figure who genuinely believes he was wronged but is not above using Catherine's estate as leverage. That would create rich conflict with Billy, who would recognize too much of himself in the man's recklessness. Or he could be part of a larger scheme, someone coached by another player who knows just enough about Catherine's papers to create a dangerous fraud. The best version would leave viewers unsure for a while. Is he truly Billy's twin? Is he a con artist with excellent information? Is he both a victim and a threat? Those questions would keep the story alive because every scene would carry uncertainty. The sealed will could also reopen the broader battle for Chancellor Industries. If Catherine left everything to Billy's hidden twin, what exactly does everything mean? Personal wealth? Shares? Property? Control of trusts? Symbolic rights to the Chancellor name? Jill would immediately challenge the language. Billy might demand DNA testing. Lawyers would question whether a codicil can override later estate decisions or whether Catherine had full capacity when she signed it. Old witnesses would be sought. Medical records would be subpoenaed. The hospital where Billy was born would become central to the investigation. Anyone connected to that night could become a target for pressure, blackmail, or sudden memory recovery. This is where the story could pull in multiple characters naturally, because inheritance in Genoa City is never private for long. Money means power, and power always attracts enemies. Victor Newman's shadow would almost certainly fall over the story. Because Jill's sale of Chancellor Industries to Victor remains one of Billy's deepest wounds, a new heir could make that wound bleed again. Billy may suspect that Victor somehow knew more than he admitted, or would exploit the chaos to tighten his grip. Jill may fear that Victor will use the claimant to weaken her and Billy. Victor, of course, would deny involvement while gathering information faster than everyone else. If the mystery twin has a legal claim to Chancellor assets, Victor might see him as a threat, a tool, or both. He could offer help, money, protection, or a deal that looks generous on the surface but gives him leverage. That would place Billy in a nightmare position, forced to defend a legacy he feels Jill already gave away, while also confronting a brother who might have a stronger claim than anyone imagined. Jack Abbott's role would be emotionally important because Billy would need someone who can see beyond the immediate legal war. Jack may remind Billy that family is not only blood, but he would also understand that blood matters when it has been hidden for decades. Jack might urge caution, warning Billy not to let anger drive him into Victor's hands or push away someone who could truly be his brother. At the same time, Jack would be protective of the Abbott name. If the mystery man is a fraud, Jack would want him exposed. If he is genuine, Jack may feel the Abbott family has a responsibility to acknowledge him. This would place Jack in a mature, stabilizing role while still allowing the story to create conflict between him, Jill, and Billy. The most dramatic scene would likely come when DNA results arrive. Until that moment, everyone can argue theory, paperwork, signatures, and motive. But a genetic match would change everything. If the test proves the man is Billy's twin, Jill's world collapses and expands at the same time. She gains a son and loses certainty. Billy gains a brother and loses the simplicity of his own origin story. Catherine's will becomes not just a legal document but a moral command from beyond the grave. If the test is negative, the story could pivot into a fraud investigation, but even then, the sealed codicil would still raise questions. Why did Catherine believe there was another child? Who planted the evidence? Was the real twin still out there? A negative result would not necessarily end the mystery, it could deepen it. That is the beauty of this kind of storyline. Every answer can create another door. If the twin is real, Jill's first instinct might be to fight the will, but her heart could betray her. She may begin secretly watching the man, asking about his childhood, wanting to know whether he was loved, whether he suffered, whether he ever felt something missing. The man may resent her for not knowing. Jill may insist she was lied to as much as he was. Billy may feel caught between anger at Jill, suspicion of the newcomer, and a strange pull towards someone who shares his blood in the most intimate possible way. Their first private conversation could be explosive. Billy might accuse him of coming for money. The twin might fire back that Billy had a mother, a name, a family, and a life he was denied. Billy might say his life was far from perfect. The twin might answer that imperfect is still better than erased. That kind of dialogue would give the story emotional weight beyond the inheritance. Catherine's final letter would be the soul of the twist. In it, she might explain that legacy is not about rewarding the person who shouts the loudest or suffers the most. It is about truth. She might admit that she made mistakes, that she hurt Jill, that she did not always know how to love without controlling. She might say that if this child existed, he deserved recognition, not because he was more worthy than Billy, but because erasure is its own kind of death. Catherine may have left the fortune to the hidden twin not to punish Jill or Billy, but to correct a wrong that money alone could never fix. That would complicate everything. Jill could be furious and still understand. Billy could feel betrayed and still recognize the justice in it. The twin could inherit everything and still feel that no inheritance can replace a stolen life. By the end of this hypothetical storyline, Genoa City would be left asking whether legacy belongs to those who lived inside it or those who were denied it. Jill would have to decide whether to fight Catherine's final wish or honor it, even if honoring it means losing control. Billy would have to decide whether this man is an enemy, a brother, or both. The mystery twin would have to decide whether he wants family, fortune, revenge, or simply the truth. And Catherine Chancellor, long gone but never truly absent, would once again prove that her influence can still shake the city from beyond the grave. One sealed envelope could do what decades of rivalry could not: force Jill, Billy, and the entire Chancellor circle to confront the possibility that the legacy they have been protecting was never fully theirs to begin with. If the young and the restless ever chose to explore this twist, it could become one of the most dramatic legacy stories in years. It would honor the show's history of family secrets while creating a fresh, emotional crisis for Jill and Billy. It would bring Catherine's presence back into the narrative without undoing her death. It would connect legal drama, family trauma, corporate power, and identity mystery in one sweeping arc. Most importantly, it would ask a question that soaps are uniquely built to answer. What happens when the past refuses to stay buried, and the person who arrives to claim the truth looks exactly like the life you thought you already understood?